Regions 1 and 9 residents receive keys to new homes. The president tells house lot applicants about the consequences of not having the anti-money laundering legislation. And the head of state makes history in Guyana as the FIFA World Cup trophy tours. These and other stories in this week's edition of The Diary, the Government Information Agency program that recaps the highlights of the country's president for the week October 26 to November 1. Fabian Klaus, your host, now for the details. The residents of Whitewater in the Northwest District, Region 1, were moved to tears when the president delivered keys to the new homes as the hinterland housing pilot project continues. A customary welcome as the president arrived in Whitewater, Region 1, on October 31. The main event was the handing over of new homes to 21 households and the commissioning of 27 others that had their roofs refurbished.
This project that we are launching here today is one of the projects that we hope will enhance the quality of life of our people apart from the other areas that we are looking at.
The program became possible through the Ministry of Housing and Water's second low-income settlement program targeting the hinterland areas. The Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, had conducted a study to determine the housing needs of the Northwest District village in 2009. The beneficiaries, who were previously living in small and often overcrowded dwellings, contributed 60% of their labor after designing the houses.
I didn't have a good home where could comfort me and my children. Then when the night come, my house is to leak bad. So happy to know what my government done for me.
The aggregate number of individuals whose family environments would have been impacted from this project is about 600. And President Donald Ramotar, who visited the village for the first time since becoming the country's head of state, was honored to hand over the keys.
The development of the interior community has always been something very close to the heart of the People's Progressive Party and the PPP civic government. Because fundamentally we live in a country with multi-ethnic, multicultural society. And we want to live in harmony and build a society where we see ourselves first and foremost as Guyanese. And to do that, we have to give equal opportunities to everyone in our country.
The Hinterland Housing Project is being piloted with the aim of providing affordable, sustainable houses in 8 communities in Regions 1 and 9. In Region 9, the distribution process continued, with 23 households in Quatemang benefiting from roof refurbishments and 12 families receiving newly constructed houses. A total of 35 households benefited from this project, costing $17.5 million. Still in the housing sector, the president told house lot applicants about the consequences of not having the anti-money laundering legislation. House lot applicants turned out in their numbers to the Guyana National Stadium at Providence, as 1,600 lots at Farm East Bank Demerara were up for distribution. The partnership between the banking sector and the Guyana government has been the main contributor to the success of government's housing program that the Ministry of Housing and Water has executed across the country. The government is depending on this public-private partnership to continue amidst concerns about the anti-money laundering legislation, which is being retabled.
If we don't pass it, then many of the banks will have serious problems in doing business, financing business. Our international business arrangements will be damaged seriously, and all of this will have a snowballing effect of damaging the economy.
A lack of consensus in the National Assembly resulted in Guyana missing an August deadline in which the country was expected to enact the legislation. The Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, CFATEF, had acceded to Guyana's request for more time and has extended the deadline to November, but support from the political opposition remains a concern.
This bill is to bring our legislation at the same level as the rest of the Caribbean legislation, to fight against money laundering, fight against drug trafficking, because what we think in a general way is to close all the loopholes where people getting illicit funds.
Failure to pass the legislation could result in Guyana losing foreign investments and international capital flows, financial institutions and systems becoming weak. Commercial banks have been represented at every one-stop shop exercise, facilitating and guiding house lot applicants in the procedures of getting a loan.
We fundamentally believe that once we have a strong, educated, healthy, and secured population, that population is going to be able to be more committed and more dedicated and more productive in their activity. And part of the security is the security of owning your own home.
You are watching The Diary, more still ahead.
With the Ameera Falls hydropower project, all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. In fact, reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20% in 2017 and considerably more in the years ahead. This project will save residential, commercial and industrial entities approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. At present, it costs about 25 cents per kilowatt hour to generate electricity using heavy fuel oil and about 30 to 35 cents per kilowatt hour using diesel. With Ameera, Guyana will save a dramatic 20 to 25% on its fuel importation bill, or about $90 million. Investors' confidence in Guyana will increase, and the manufacturing and services sector will be significantly boosted. In the climate change arena, Guyana has already taken on a leadership role with its low-carbon development strategy, and with this Ameera project, the country could also become a leader globally for renewable power. This project will add 6 percentage points to real GDP growth during the construction phase alone. The total public debt to Guyana for this project is zero. Cheap energy is vital to the industrialization of Guyana. Thousands of jobs would be created due to industrialization. After 20 years, the hydropower facility will be 100% owned by Guyanese, and it is expected to last 100 years.
Guyana needs the Ameera Falls hydropower project because all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. Consumers will save approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. Guyana will save $90 million on fuel importation, and investors' confidence in Guyana will increase. More jobs will be available. All Guyanese need to come on board now. Reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20%.
The head of state spoke highly of parliamentary clerks and presiding officers who he said hold professional positions and should be respected instead of being subject to unnecessary attacks. The president's remarks came at the 16th Biennial Regional Conference of Presiding Officers and Clerks of the Caribbean, the Americas, and the Atlantic region of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Present was Opposition Leader Brigadier David Granger, whose criticism of the Clerk of Guyana's National Assembly, Sherlock Isaacs, over the long-awaited 4 local government bills had prompted the clerk to seek approval from the president for resignation. Isaacs had vented his frustration about the 10th Parliament, describing it as the worst ever.
We cannot or should not take actions that will harm a country on the ground that may help us politically. The danger is if people do not see or feel that things are changing for the better in their life, they could become disillusioned.
The opposition leader delivered remarks keeping a modest tone, but quite surprisingly made reference to money laundering among the new threats facing the Commonwealth and Caribbean states, even though reluctant to support the passage of the anti-money laundering legislation. President Ramotar, who had recently called for an end to what appears to be an attempt to undermine the retabled financial crimes legislation, reminded legislators to keep the nation's interest at heart.
As parliamentarians, we must be conscious that people are looking at how we behave and how we react and how we promote the welfare of our people in the highest fora of our lands. At all times, I believe that we must keep the interests of our people focused. We must keep their interests at all times in our focus.
Serving as a member of parliament since 1992, the president said parliament is crucial to any country's democracy and that legislators should bring clarity and educate the population. The 16th Biennial Regional Conference of Presiding Officers and Clerks of the Caribbean, the Americas, and the Atlantic region of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association was attended by representatives of 14 member states. The two-day engagement focused on the role of the Speaker in changing parliaments and protecting members' privileges, resolutions as a force of law, parliamentary procedures, conventions, and practices.
18-karat gold. The base contains 2 layers of semi-precious mulch-like mud. Its on the side is engraved with the year and name of each FIFA World Cup winner since 1974.
President Ramatar made history as the first Guyanese head of state to hold the Golden Federation of International Football Association's FIFA World Cup trophy. The 18-karat gold trophy arrived in Guyana on October 30 in the ongoing 9-month tour of the world ahead of the FIFA World Cup tournament in Brazil next year.
It is indeed for me a great pleasure to be here and to have an opportunity on your behalf to raise this fantastic trophy. And I think that that would be the old saying that common events cast their shadows. That really would be the common event of Guyana winning the World Cup one day. This is that shadow that I hope to cast.
As he welcomed the trophy, the head of state said he is encouraged by the unifying spirit which football and other popular sports bring the world over.
In a world that is facing so much of turmoil, so much of problems, and we hear wars in some areas and battles in other areas, there is definite need to find activities to bring people together. And so far, sports has proven that it has that capacity to do so, and particularly football.
Its popularity among the youth population and the ability to keep them meaningfully occupied was the other reason the president said he was encouraged by the sport.
It gives discipline to young people, and in the challenges which young people face today, the problems of combating antisocial activities, of the drug problems, it creates discipline and healthy habits. It creates physically stronger people. And we know when you're physically fit, you're also more mentally alert.
Guyana is the 27th nation that the trophy has sojourned. Accompanying the coveted prize is FIFA representative and professional footballer Dwight York, who hails from neighboring Trinidad and Tobago.
18-karat gold. The base contains 2 layers of semi-precious mulch-like mud. Its on the side is engraved with the year and name of each FIFA World Cup winner since 1974.
Still ahead, a proud moment for a CXC top performer.
Guyana needs the Ameera Falls hydropower project because all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. Consumers will save approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. Guyana will save $90 million on fuel importation, and investors' confidence in Guyana will increase. More jobs will be available. All Guyanese need to come on board now. Reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20%.
With the Ameera Falls hydropower project, all consumers will benefit from cheap and reliable electricity. In fact, reduction in consumer tariffs will be at least 20% in 2017 and considerably more in the years ahead. This project will save residential, commercial, and industrial entities approximately $3.5 billion over a period of 20 years. At present, it costs about 25 cents per kilowatt hour to generate electricity using heavy fuel oil and about 30 to 35 cents per kilowatt hour using diesel. With Ameera, Guyana will save a dramatic 20 to 25% on its fuel importation bill, or about $90 million. Investors' confidence in Guyana will increase, and the manufacturing and services sector will be significantly boosted. In the climate change arena, Guyana has already taken on a leadership role with its low-carbon development strategy, and with this Ameera project, the country could also become a leader globally for renewable power. This project will add 6 percentage points to real GDP growth during the construction phase alone. The total public debt to Guyana for this project is zero. Cheap energy is vital to the industrialization of Guyana. Thousands of jobs would be created due to industrialization. After 20 years, the hydropower facility will be 100% owned by Guyanese, and it is expected to last 100 years.
In keeping with the theme of fitness, President Ramatar and First Lady Deolachmi Ramatar joined a large contingent for an early morning walk from Queen's College to the University of Guyana, as activities to mark the tertiary institution's 50th anniversary continued. From its starting point, the march proceeded east along Carifesta Avenue into the Rupert Craig Highway and south into the University of Guyana Turkan campus, with music from the Ghana Defense Force Marching Band. The walk was symbolic of the road the country's prized tertiary institution has taken from humble beginnings as the Chadijagan Night School at Queen's College to an institution that has produced Guyanese of world renown. 12 students are the first to successfully complete the diploma program in the National School of Theatre Arts and Drama, making their mark in history as the first to receive formally certified training in the creative arts at the tertiary level. The 12 were honored during a simple graduation ceremony at the National Cultural Center, where the president handed over special prizes to Mark Luke Edwards, the best graduating student runner-up, and Tanika Caldera, the valedictorian. The National School of Theatre Arts and Drama has its genesis in 2012 when it was established and subsequently launched the following year. Classes commenced in February 2013 at the National Cultural Center, with an initial enrollment of 26 students. History of stage, performance, theory, and research were integral parts of the academic and technical program. After studying the dramatic folk story Ram Leela, the students staged a reenactment in July at the National Cultural Center, and in August they traveled to Paramaribo, Suriname, where they participated in Carifesta 11. Rafina Mustafa, one of the Caribbean Examination Council's top performer, whose 15 distinctions earned her the Caribbean Award in Humanities, was honored to meet the president as much as he was about her achievements. The Saraswati Vidya Niketan student met the head of state in the company of her principal, Swami Askaranandan, and mother, Saraswati Monilal. She joins the list of brilliant minds that the institution would have produced over the years, and also stands testimony to the rewards that the country has been seeing from the investments made in the education sector. Well, that's all in this week's edition of the Diary for the period October 26 to November 1. The highlights before we go. Region 1 and 9 residents receive keys to their new homes. The President tells house-led applicants about the consequences of not having the anti-money laundering legislation, and he makes history in Guyana as the FIFA World Cup trophy tours. Join us again next week when we bring you more. I am your host, Fabian Kraus. Thanks for joining us. Have a safe and a pleasant rest of the week.